We are live.
We're back.
We are officially back for a brand new season of the Dominator.
Oh boy, it's exciting times, man. Exciting times.
Oh, it's exciting, man. We've come a long way, man. You and I were introduced a year ago, started this show, and now a year later, we're working together. You're here full time at PlayerProfiler.com. I see your beautiful face 17 times a day. We're in so many meetings together, and we have so much communication back and forth. There's so many things going on, so many initiatives. There's just it's as exciting. I can't believe I'm saying this. It's as exciting as when we first launched Player Profiler. Like, it feels like that level of excitement for me. How many new people we brought on, and there's just this groundswell of both internal and external energy that I'm just sailing on, like on the high seas. It's great. I love
Cloud9.
it.
Yeah, it's been such a fun and exciting time. I mean, we've been working together quietly behind the scenes for the last few weeks, and eagerly anticipating the start date. It's official, right? I'm on board. I have been enjoying the time getting to learn the ins and outs of the Player Profiler and behind the scenes, and getting to know the staff better. Excited for our roadmap, excited for just podcasting more with you, and for the new and upcoming shows that we have planned for starting next week. A little teaser right there, right? And so can't wait to get fully going on the podcast adventure, and to just share the wealth of knowledge that we have with all of our listeners.
You're a great broadcaster, but you're also a great operator behind the scenes. You're already like documenting processes. Like, there's so many different things that we have neglected as we've just been outrunning our coverage, right? And it's like, wait. Let's take a step back here. Let's create a training document for this. Wait, let's do this in a way that actually can scale. And I'm like, you're right. Everyone listen to Billy. No more cowboy shit. We're doing this shit the right way. So you're like, okay, I can see you guys were in a rush to do a bunch of these things. So I'm going to go ahead and and then you're up here cleaning up this stuff over here, and then you're organizing this stuff over here. And I'm like, oh man, this is part of the swelling of energy that I'm feeling. Like, we just unfurl the sails and whoosh, right? You can just feel it. And like, Theo is on board too. Theo Greminger, he started with the Breakout Finder. Theo first started writing for Nate Liss with the Breakout Finder, and now he's heading up our podcast channel. He's heading up the draft kit. Theo is a total stud, and now we have Cody reporting from the combine. It's just every time I open Twitter, I'm like, I can't believe. Look at Jack. Like, oh my God, look at Aaron. Look at Dario. All these things. Best ball rankings just dropped. I was like, oh, look at the best ball rankings. Oh, damn, look at that. And then there's going to be a lot more coming, changes to the website, and a lot of new products coming out. The one thing that we should tease, because it is the biggest thing, is the complete renovation of the data analysis tool. It's now in testing, so we now have it. It's ready to test. We're going to bang on it a little bit, and we're going to throw it out there for the public, and y'all can start using what I've always wanted data analysis to be. So that's just scratching the surface. There's so much.
Yeah, I was excited to kind of take a look at the test with the dev team today, and taking a look at the exciting product. And I love the simplicity of it and removing the decision fatigue for the user. I think that was one of the key components of this rollout, and I'm excited to see it on the site.
And it's just, there's a lot more flexibility. There's a lot more ability to join information. There's a lot of more ability to have predefined reports that we already have for you. Lots of stuff that's ready to go with a click of a button, and then a lot more edit control, a lot more like in
report building.
Yeah, in the app experience, the ability to just build out columns and save your favorite report, and then the speed and removing all the limitations, like, oh, you can only have this many columns, nonsense, because this also was only possible. The reason why the data analysis renovation really was the last big renovation that we had of the site was because we needed to upgrade our servers. We did a big migration to Amazon AWS. So we now actually pay a lot more for servers because we just have a lot more horsepower behind the scenes, and it allows us to do things and roll things out with high performance, even with lots of data, with thousands of rows and lots of columns and, crazy data sets that before you could see that the smoke was rising up from data analysis if you try to go too far with it, right? Try to pull too much down. It would start to wheeze and start to smoke. And I was like, I in the back of my head, I was like, oh wait, I can't wait for us to redo this. And then our head of tech, Frank, was like, hey, listen, it's pretty dumb if you do a big user experience update to data analysis and you don't upgrade the servers. It would be really dumb. Like, it would be like putting brand new tires, right? Sport mode to a car, but you keep the same engine. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you've seen this, right? You've seen this, like the tinted windows, and you've got the sport tires and the cool rims and everything else, and it's still got that little 4-cylinder.
There's no big block. It's just a small block.
Like, what are you doing? Yeah. Like, what are you doing here? No, we need the whole car needs to come together.
We're gonna hot rod this thing, man.
We're going full. I think data analysis going full hot rod. I think it's the best way to say it.
Absolutely.
And then we're gonna add like a rate my team for your draft kit, because you and Theo are really gonna own the draft kit this year, so that's exciting. We're going to bring a whole league sync feature to the Dynasty Dominator and the Dynasty Deluxe package. You're going to have your own cheat sheets everywhere, like in the draft kit and everything. There's going to be the Billy cheat sheet. We're going to have a draft simulator, because now that we're partnered with the FFPC, I think we can have a little pre-announcement of the FFPC partnership that we have coming. It's going to be starting soon, and we're going to be surfacing their ADPs, and we're going to have specific rankings for the FFPC, and that's very exciting. We're actually going to have a brand new ADP tool for the public on every player page that features FFPC, both Dynasty and their main event ADPs. So there's a lot of cool integrations we can do with the FFPC. That's all coming. And that was like your first thing. That was like on day one. Billy starts day one, March 1. He's like, yeah, first day, we're going to do a big partnership with the FFPC. I've been waiting to do that my first day. And I was like, that's a pretty hell of a first day, Bill.
Love to kick it off with a bang, right? You want to walk in and just kind of mic drop, and that was the plan. This is what we did. Loving the partnership. I love that the integration that we're going to have from a drafting perspective. Myself as a high stakes player, being able to utilize our site and look at the ADP, look at FFPC ranks, my ranks, and being able to just take it all in one place. It's going to be like the dream come true for a high stakes player. Rankings and ADP all on the site that you want to play at in order to win $1 million. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's great. And you and Dario have been working really well together, hand in glove. The master and the machine, that's alluding to a show that you will have with Dario coming up. So we're working on the art, right. We're working on the planning of the show where you and Dario debate players, where, hey, the algorithm's saying this and Billy's processes are saying that. Who's right? Right?
Yeah, leave it up to the listeners.
You have the credibility. You were the top ranker over there at Fantasy Pros. So,
oh man, I can't wait.
You're going to have an upper hand in some of those arguments right off the bat, and then Dario's going to have to come with analytics and real numbers-based evidence to say, hey, actually, Bill, no, actually, I can't wait for you guys. I know you guys are going to disagree, like Trey Lance.
Oh, we already have some disagreements.
I can see that Trey Lance is such a Dario guy, and I know that you've told me offhand that you don't think he can play, and I'm
No.
like, oh man, Dario's not going to like to hear that one.
Yeah, I can't wait to pull the card, Dario. I'm the number one ranker. No, that's not right. Until you're the number one ranker, Dario. I'm not even listening to that argument. But
you're gonna have to come with more than that, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're gonna have an hour to fill. You can't just.
I'm gonna be like,
say,
break down the numbers, Dario, and he's gonna break down the numbers. And I'll be like, no.
You can just say, oh, resume.
I don't. Yeah, I just no. The numbers are lying, Dario. I don't like the numbers there because sometimes we have to look at the human element, right? It's not just the analytics. It has to be about the coach, the scheme. It has to be about the fit. It has to be about the chemistry between the two players, the shower narrative, right? We have the Cooper Kupp and the Staffords, right? There's all sorts of different human elements that need to be considered when we're doing these rankings, these projections. And yes, the analytics are important, and that is a base of what I do as well. Like Dario and I are using the same machine. We're just using it in different aspects. And I can't wait to debate with him on our different processes and our analysis and our projections, because we already have differences, and we're up late at night. We're doing the CSV files, and we're uploading things in. And I'm like, Trey Lance has already been mentioned in these discussions.
I'm sure.
And I said, you know what? I don't really care who that is, because whoever that Niners quarterback is going to be right here. If that's going to be Purdy, it's going to be Purdy. If that's going to be Lance, it's going to be Lance. But as of right now, I'm still betting on it being Purdy.
What?
Yes, I am.
All right. Disagree. I disagree. I'm Team Dario when it comes to Trey Lance. We did an industry mock. We'll talk about our industry mock that we did a little bit later. But I am a little more analytical, and I tend to fall on Dario's side on a lot of things. But we have the whole range of thought here. That's what I think really separates us from any other service that's out there, is the complete range of, we're not just a fantasy service, we're also an NFL media company. We were at the Super Bowl, Radio Row. We saw very few others from any kind of fantasy operators there. I think Roto World was there and maybe a handful of others, but that was about it, right? So we're at the Senior Bowl, we're at the Combine, we're at the Super Bowl, we're going to have a huge presence at the draft, but then we also have, the intellectual firepower of, mathematicians and top high-stakes players like yourselves and Theo that have, tens of thousands of dollars of winnings. And I sort of feel like a hairy Professor Xavier. This is how I feel. I feel like we really have assembled. This is one of the reasons why I'm so excited, is I feel like we finally assembled the full X-Men cast of characters. So that's,
oh man, am I Wolverine? Look at this.
You're
hair.
Definitely Wolverine. Of course you're Wolverine. That's not even a question. Wolverine's like the best character.
Dibs. I call dibs.
Yeah,
I love it.
Absolutely. And you're gonna have, like, that's not even the only show so you have the Dominator show. Basically, I'm now a tourist on the Dominator show. Billy is the main guy with the Dominator show, and you're going to start to have guests in the Dominator show. I'm going to come on, when I can. Certainly, I will be here for you. But you're going to also do a show with Dario that we talked about. You debate players, but then you're also going to do a show with Theo, which is focused on the high stakes lifestyle, as well as the strategy and everything else. That's going to be called First Class Fantasy. That's going to have an aviation theme to it. I love theming these shows. That's one of my happy places.
Man, just talking with you like off the air, you're just like spitballing like all these ideas, and they're just like perfect in terms of what we were going to be calling the shows. And I'm just like, did you pre-think these before we met up? And you're like, no, this is just what I do.
Yeah, I'm like, well, what if we called it this?
And I'm like,
because I remember with Nate Pole Vote, where he has the new show, and I was like, what about Dear Mr. Fantasy? You want to be Mr. Fantasy? He's like, yeah, I could be Mr. Fantasy. I'm like, well, okay, Mr. Fantasy. All right, Mr. Fantasy, you got a mailbag show. Go mailbag. And then my favorite was Jason and Matt with the Trade God show.
That's a good name.
They were throwing all these names at me, right? They were throwing, they were workshopping the fuck out of that show. I can tell you that right now. They had so many different, trade this and dynasty that. And I was like, guys, you're the trade gods. And they were like, I don't know. That sounds a little too ambitious. I don't know if we can really be. I was like, you're the trade gods. Say it. And they go, fine, we're the trade gods. And they were like, but sarcastically. They were sarcastic about it. Like, they were like kicking and screaming with this name. And I'm like, you guys just wait. I can't give it a month. And you come back to me and you tell me, now the next thing I know, these guys are photoshopping themselves on clouds with lightning bolts.
That was a
good
thumbnail.
They're leaning into it. They created a whole Twitter account with the trade gods. And I'm like, well, it sounds like you really think this is a apropos name after all, don't you? You really like how that trade god's name fits, huh?
Kind of worked out.
It worked out, didn't it? All right.
Sometimes you just got to take that leap of faith.
Would-be podcasters who I am helping to find a name for your show. Take it seriously, even though it sounds silly. That's what I would say.
Take that leap of faith sometimes.
We need to talk about fantasy drafts, though.
Yeah, let's get into football. Enough about us and this.
Yeah, that was very meta.
That was a pretty long gloat there of us for about 20 minutes. It was worth it though. We needed to do it.
Well, I told Jason and Matt, I was like, listen, I'm going to talk about this trade god's name and that you were not all the way on board originally. That's going to come up at some point.
Yeah, that's noted.
So now that's all the meta is behind us. Let's look forward to fantasy draft season. What do you believe are the greatest points of leverage when you're drafting in February and March?
Oh man, I love this time of year. You can completely take advantage of ADP. ADP right now in February and March is the wild, wild west. Players are going all over the place. We're seeing ADPs fluctuate from 20 to 30 spots at times. And people are just going out and drafting their guy. They don't really care about average draft position. We're starting to get at least a sense or a feel of average draft position as we're settling into March. It's kind of crazy to think about, right? Like ADP is settling in March. Well, it is. Like if you were to start drafting like right when drafts hit the street, Super Bowl time, it was all over the place. And we're starting to get a feel for it. We're starting to get a sense. However, there's still a lot of value to be had at a lot of positions. And the beauty about it is kind of putting together the matrix, right? Trying to understand the flow of draft boards. Is it going to be a zero running back year? Are you going to be able to wait on tight end? Are you going to be able to wait on quarterback? And the answer with all of that is yes this year. Like you can wait. You're not able to wait on quarterback. You're not able to wait on tight end. You're able to get running backs late again. There is already kind of a matrix puzzle being solved in terms of the way the board is flowing, because you can't go in with one set plan. Like last year, my philosophy was wait on quarterback, right? It worked in a lot of leagues. It didn't work in some, because if you didn't hit on certain late quarterbacks last year, you were kind of SOL, right? The top end quarterbacks last year just had such a difference in fantasy points compared to previous years that it really separated teams. So if you didn't hit on all the positional players last year, it was really hard to make up for the difference of quarterback points. This year, we've seen that in the adjustments in ADP. Quarterbacks are going in round one. We have, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen going in 1-2 turns. Jalen Hurts also going in round two. And so we're seeing that ADP be pushed up the boards already in February and March with the quarterbacks. I still think there's value to be had in some late round quarterbacks this year. I'm not fully out on late round quarterback in 2023. I think it's just a large uncertainty at the position. Like we don't know some of the quarterback situations. You look at, the Saints, you look at the Falcons, you look at the Niners. I mean, there's so many teams. There's probably about 6 or 7 teams right now that you can look at and say, who's going to be the starting quarterback once free agency
or the flip
happens,
side.
Or the flip
Where
side.
is quarterback X going to start? like Lamar
Correct.
Jackson.
And so that uncertainty right now is one of the driving factors behind ADP, as well as just the clear separation of fantasy points from the 2022 season. So I think that we will have a point where that does settle down. I don't think we're going to see it quite to the extreme of last year where you're able to get, Mahomes in round 5 at times and usually in round 4. I do think he'll settle somewhere in that 2 to 3 range, but I don't think he's going to be a round 1 pick as frequently as we're seeing right now in February and March. So there is a downside to drafting now, and that's one of them is you're kind of some positions come at a premium. But if you are able to finagle around the draft room, you're getting some extreme value at the positionals like running back and wide receiver.
Would you say that was the number one reason why your 2022 fantasy teams on average underperformed your 2021 fantasy teams? Was that you generally implement a late round quarterback strategy, and the mid-round quarterback / early quarterbacks netted such value in 2022 that could be the number one differentiator between your 2021 success and your 2022 success?
Yeah, I think that definitely played a large factor, tight end included in that, right? It was the same phenomenon at that position, right? Where the top end tight ends, like look at Kelsey, right? Kelsey just, again, dominated the position and severely outscored everybody else. And then outside that, it was kind of a wasteland behind, tight end 2 and 3. And so I think between those two positions, waiting as long as I did in both drafts, I think it definitely hindered my profits. I definitely was profitable still, but it wasn't to the level of profitability that I saw in 2021. And right. I think, like you mentioned, I think that is because, it was easier to hit on quarterbacks, and like getting Rodgers in round 11 on his MVP year was a win, right? Getting, Jared Goff late last year was a win, but I was also drafting Davis Mills, right? And so there was a flip side to that coin. You may hit on one late round quarterback, but you're going to miss on another one. And so yes, the teams with, Carson Wentz and Jared Goff worked out well because Wentz had a strong first 5-6 games, and then Goff caught fire at the second half of the year. So if you were able to hit the combo correctly, it really paid off. But if you didn't have that perfect combo like that, you were at a severe disadvantage versus the players who had Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen. You would have had to hit the perfect late round combo. And in my opinion, that was Goff and Wentz last year. Like anyone else, Fields, I think, was also included in that, of course. He was going late as well, but that was kind of the cheat code. It was really bad first 5 weeks, and they finally figured out, maybe if we have him run the ball, he's good. Okay, they figured it out, and then he became a fantasy cheat code. But from a pocket passing standpoint, those two late quarterbacks were the matrix solver.
Even if you had Tua, he faded.
He did fade, yeah.
Right, so Tua was good in the first half, faded in the second half. It's always, almost always, not always, but sometimes, maybe, usually always, but not quite always, sometimes always, but most of the time, sometimes always.
Always.
I just think back to Cam Newton's rookie year, right?
That's right.
You can think back to the Colin Kaepernick breakout, go on down the board, the Josh Allen's third year. These quarterbacks that are mobile, when they hit big.
That's right.
And if you are going to go late round quarterback, you better not be drafting, pocket passer X, right? So, my mistake was I thought I could get away with a Kirk Cousins late, right? That also didn't work out, right? That you were okay, you were competitive,
but it was kind of vanilla.
You were getting leveraged by people with Jalen Hurts, and that was unfortunate, right? That was unfortunate. I was like, listen, I'm going Kirk Cousins, I'm going late round quarterback. How is this guy not going to be prolific? And he found a way to not be prolific. It was really weird. I thought that was weird, right? It was very weird. And so I was like, man, I feel fine about Cousins. But I'm not. When you have a guy like Cousins, you don't fully appreciate while the season is happening what you're missing out on.
It's so true.
it's only until once the season is over and you go back and look and you're like, oh man, Cousins was not good. Like Cousins hurt me. But at the time, I'm like, he's putting up 17 points. He's putting up 19 points. He just had 22 points. It's fine. This is fine. Right? My other players are the reason why I'm winning here, but fine. And then you look back at like there were people that were winning matchups because of their quarterback week in, week out. And if you're not giving yourself that opportunity with a mobile quarterback, if you're just going Cousins, you're really hurting yourself and you're playing it too safe. You know, if upside wins championships and Kirk Cousins ain't it. Right? So shame on me for touting Kirk Cousins in any way, shape, or form. Watch him be the MVP. I mean, watch him be the MVP this year. I mean,
I was just about to say he's actually kind of high on my rankings this year.
I know. That's the thing, right? Shame on
I really like him this year.
I love him. I love him this year again. I mean, I'm telling you in advance, let's get it over with early March. I'm going to be back, right? It's going to happen again. I'm going to be drafting a bunch of Cousins again. And just remember I said it. Remember I said it here. This is not the highest upside play, but
he had a great stretch, though, down the run. Like he had week 14, he was quarterback 5. Week 15, quarterback 3. Week 16, quarterback 6. He had a 20 and a 16, thereafter. But playoffs, week 19, he's quarterback 5. So when they throw the ball and they have him actually, in there throwing the ball more than, 39 times, like those other weeks, he was 31 and 20 attempts. Like when you look back and his successful weeks, he's throwing the ball 40 times a game and he's, targeting Justin Jefferson. So if they continue with that strategy, that's why I like him right now. I think that they're going to continue to throw the ball.
I'm going to go back to it. I'm going to go back to it. I think he was unlucky last year. It's an easy stack. If you have an early pick, you have the 1 or the 2, and you end up with Justin Jefferson. It's just the easiest stack you've ever seen. He's been super competitive. I mean, he did actually have his second highest passing yard season of his career. It's just that he also had his lowest yards per attempt at 7.1. So that's what it was. He was technically a QB1. He was a top 12 quarterback, 18 fantasy points a game, right there. And then his expected fantasy points a game, 18, right? So you could say, well, he actually wasn't unlucky. He gave you exactly what you were thinking he was going to give you, and then he gave you that thing. They passed the ball 40 times a game. They were number 3 in the league in pass attempts. But it's still possible that you get one of these high touchdown rate seasons. He didn't give you any positive variance, right? It was just the exact number of touchdowns, 29, that he should have delivered on those number of attempts and the air yards that he put up. But 35 touchdowns, absolutely in that range of outcomes with that volume in his abilities and the yards after the catch ability of players like Justin Jefferson and now TJ Hawkinson. The addition of TJ Hawkinson, if they had TJ Hawkinson the entire year, he would have given you 19 and a half fantasy points a game.
All right. Looking at the projections, I have him projected for 560 attempts, 372 completions. I have him at a 5.4 touchdown rate. That brings him to a 30.2 passing touchdowns and 4,144 yards. So I am projecting a career year for Kirk Cousins here in 2023.
Let's go.
I'm
back. See, I'm back. I'm back. That's how easy it is. That's how easy
Sold.
it is. Now I'm back.
Sold.
But I can tell you this. I'm going to be more likely to push the button in those double-digit rounds on a mobile quarterback, whoever that is. And you're not going to like it, but in this mock that we did together with my second quarterback in a best ball draft, I took Trey Lance.
Man. I mean, where you got him, it was fine. People are taking him in like round 10, 9. I'm not
What?
okay in that range. I've seen him go earlier. It's like you
Oh,
got him
yeah,
at
no.
a discount here, and I think that where you took him is completely fine, especially like at the cost and the potential bust factor there. Like,
I took him at
what?
the end of the 14th round.
Yeah, that's a discount. So
Right. So I took him. It was Lance, and the next quarterback off the board was Rodgers. And it was the only reason I drafted him is because you took Russell Wilson 3 picks earlier. I mean, you went on a nice little Skype snipe run on me.
You sniped me earlier.
Yeah, because you Gainwell Wilson. You went back to back. I was like, man, because I was debating between Chark and Gainwell, and I was like, structure-wise, I got to go wide receiver. You got to be loyal to the structure. You got to have discipline. You can't. That's the thing. That's the mistake people make. Is they let a shiny player they like override what they know is the optimal structure. And I already had 4 running backs at the time. I only had 6 wide receivers, and if you have 4 running backs and 6 wide receivers in a best ball league, your next pick should be a wide receiver, all else equal, when you're comparing running back and wide receiver. And Chark was still on the board, and I was happy to get Campbell and Chark because I believe that early best ball drafts are won by leaning into uncertainty.
Absolutely.
And identifying the types of players that can benefit most from events either breaking for or against them, but at least put yourself in a position to be on the positive side of these events breaking a particular way. That means investing in more backup running backs with upside, like a Kenny Gainwell, than you would otherwise. And then we hear, oh, Josh Jacobs, he's likely franchise tagged. And it's like, okay, well, maybe it's not going to work out for Zamir White, but that doesn't mean that Zamir White wasn't a great pick for the entire month of February. He absolutely was. You need to just set yourself up and give yourself a chance. And that was another player late in that draft that you sniped me on, was Zamir White.
I was about to say, I feel seen. Are you talking
Josh
to me?
Jacobs? It doesn't matter. It was good process, Billy. Good job.
Yeah, I thought you were speaking directly at me when you were mentioning that, because I was caught on the wrong side of variance there. But if you look at every one of my running backs, every single one of them has some question marks in free agency. Look at Ramondre Stevenson. I'm expecting Harris to be gone. When that happens, the world reacts. Stevenson will probably move up a full round, in my opinion. Look at Cook, right?
James
Who
Cook.
Who knows what they do inside of the draft? Well, so that could affect his draft stock as well. Look at Kareem Hunt, free agent right now. We don't know where he's going to go, but if he lands in the right situation, he's probably 2 rounds higher. Gainwell, what happens if they don't get Miles Sanders and they don't take another back until like day 3 in this draft? Gainwell's going to shoot up draft boards. I was hoping Josh Jacobs would be moved or not come back to the Raiders, and that Zamir White would have at least a larger role here in 2023. Kyron Williams, another thing that we don't know what's going to happen to the Rams per se, but we know it's going to be Akers. But Kyron Williams right now is the running back 2, like it or not. He's going to have a role. And then Pierre Strong was directly tied to Ramondre Stevenson. We mentioned this last year. I liked him as a kind of a stash. And this year, I think he has a decent sized role inside this offense. So all of my running backs were predicated around what you just mentioned. And it was risking it for the biscuit and trying to hit a home run early in these drafts and fall on the right side of variance.
You did it. So let me explain. In 2011, Shane Vereen had 15 rush attempts for 57 yards. Okay, and then in the next few years he had over 400 receiving yards. He was never a volume rusher, but in 2013, 16.8 fantasy points per game. I don't know how the hell he did that. He did it in only 8 games, right? So he caught 47 passes in 8 games. Yeah, that's almost 100 catches in a 16-game season. The guy was a volume monster in the passing game and was completely unused as a rookie. And we liked the Pierre Strong profile Pierre Strong looks a lot like Shane Vereen. This is like a faster version of Shane Vereen. He has a great receiving profile and is essentially the Shane Vereen of the New England Patriots. And you never know what's going to happen. If and when Damian Harris goes elsewhere, it's everybody. It's Stevenson, it's Kevin Harris, it's Pierre Strong that all bump up as soon as that happens.
I'm like relying on. I don't think it's if. I think it's just when. There's no way in my mind that they're going to re-sign Harris.
Yeah, Pierre Strong is best comparable on Player Profiler to Elijah Mitchell. He is 5 pounds heavier than Shane Vereen was, and faster. And just a reminder, just a quick reminder at South Dakota State. He had 20 catches in 9 games. And then he had 22 catches the next year. But in that year, we had 22 catches, 1,600 plus rushing yards. He was a monster.
And we saw him take it to the house last year, week 14 against Arizona, where he had that 90-yard, total yard game against Arizona. He finished as running back 12, and he just had, a limited snap share. I think he was 26% snap share that week, running back 12. It just shows you the upside that he has. Free in drafts too right now, by the way.
Yeah. 7.0 yards per carry in college. He was a 4th rounder. That's the same round as Zamir White, same round as a breakout running back on the Houston Texans. Okay. So, I mean, I'm not saying, but the 4th round is the new 3rd round. Right? So that's impressive. I like him a lot. I think that if there is a free agent running back who we could be certain is not going back to his existing team, other than Kareem Hunt, it's got to be, I would say Kareem Hunt would be number 1. I know Kareem Hunt is gone. And then the next guy would be Damian Harris.
Correct.
Yeah, and technically, Pierre Strong was drafted a hell of a lot higher than Kevin Harris, right? And Ramondre Stevenson was also a 4th-round pick. He and Stevenson were drafted around the same spot. Again, 4th round. That was, again, the Dameon Pierce draft round. So many teams, I think, are now circling the 4th round as the time when they get their running backs, have the discipline to hold out and not push the button on that running back you love in the 3rd round. Wait. Hold. And teams are doing that now. Teams are doing that. Back in the day, I mean, Miles Sanders was a 2nd-round pick. Joe Mixon was a 2nd-round pick. Those guys wouldn't be 2nd-round picks now. Those are 3rd-round picks, right? I mean, A.J. Dillon was a 2nd-round pick. Not the way they value running backs now. If Antonio Gibson were in the draft in 2023, he'd be a 4th-rounder, not a 3rd-rounder.
Yeah, that's probably right.
And on down the board. So all the more reason to be bullish on Pierre Strong and just pick him up at the very end of drafts. So I like the running backs that are not yet primary backs on their depth chart that have free agents above them on the depth chart and have the requisite size, athleticism, and production profile in college to at least command a, say, 55% opportunity share. Like if something happens to Ramondre Stevenson, he misses time, it's very possible that Pierre Strong actually gets more opportunities, more weighted opportunities, especially if you put a bonus on, the targets generate a lot more fantasy points than carries. So he would absolutely get more weighted opportunities if it was a split between Strong and Harris should something happen to Ramondre Stevenson. And because they've been investing in the running back position the last few years in the 4th round consistently, we can also be pretty certain that the Patriots aren't going to draft a running back with early capital. That's another leverage point for best ball drafts in February, is to draft rookie running backs, because this rookie wide receiver class is on the underwhelming side, and the rookie running back class is
Deep.
exceeding expectations so far in the process. We've already had more running backs at the Senior Bowl impressed than we were expecting, and I think we're going to see that at the Combine too. There's going to be some fast times surprising us, and you're going to see a bunch of running backs rising up the board. And so that's what I did. In this particular industry mock that we were talking about, you went Gainwell, you went Zamir White. I was going Roschon Johnson, Kendre Miller. That's the direction I was going. In addition to, the most obvious of the number 2 running backs that are waiting to become the number 1 would be Khalil Herbert, right? So if we were ranking most likely pending free agent running backs to leave, it would be Kareem Hunt, it'd be Damian Harris, and then David Montgomery would have to be up there.
I think he's up there. Yeah, it's just the Bears though. You never know what they're going to do.
Yeah, he's just the Bears. You don't know. You have no. You really don't. I'm not. But Khalil Herbert, where I got him, early round 9. I was very happy to get him there. But I was even more happy then to come back with Miller, come back with Roschon Johnson in that zone. Also looking at Zach Charbonnet is also a great pick in that area. So even if you're not doing the work, all you need to do is go to the mock drafts. We have a mock draft index on Player Profiler in the Dynasty Deluxe section. There's the mock draft index where Cody aggregates like 15 different mock drafts, and you can see where these guys are supposed to go. And if you just filter by running back, and I can read it to you right now. I can read to you from the mock draft index the positions. And you go, Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs are going to be the first 2 running backs off the board for sure. And then it just goes down from there, right? It goes down from there. A-Chain, he's probably going to go on day 2, right? There's one. And then I think that Roschon Johnson is going to get second-round capital after he shreds the Combine. Zach Charbonnet should go on day 2. Kendre Miller should go on day 2. Zach Evans should go. Tank Bigsby. So we're talking about 8 running backs that we can project to go in day 1 or 2. It's a coin flip whether Bijan goes in round 1, because we might be just post first-round running back in the NFL draft. We just may never see it again.
I think someone will do it.
But someone will do it. We want to get
someone will do it
every year, and then no, someone's going to draft a running back in the first round. It happens. Najee Harris, first round. Travis Etienne went in the first round. Just bad. But,
where do you think Tyjae Spears goes? I like this kid.
See, talking to Ray Garvin, he thinks that Tyjae Spears could go as high as the second round.
Wow. I would be shocked if he goes second round, but looking at like his character and just some of his tape, I really like him. I do.
Israel Abanaconda also could be incredibly athletic.
That was impressive that you pronounced that seamlessly.
Oh, thank you. He's 20 years old. I love that he's 20. I love that Kendre Miller's 20. Love these young guys that are potentially going to shred the Combine. So it's like, well, why is this guy coming out early? Why is this guy coming out early? It's like, well, they're coming out early because, the scouts, they go to the practices and they time these guys.
All right, hold it. Time out. I want you to pronounce Zion's name. I'm not even going to try his last name. The kid from Washington, the edge rusher. I think he's number 32 right now in our big board.
Number 32 on the mock draft index?
Yeah. Please pronounce that for me.
Oh, Zion Tupaola Fatui. Is that right?
That's all I know is what you just said. I've never been able to pronounce it. I can't even pronounce it in my head, trying to pronounce it in my head. Like my brain gets twisted trying to pronounce it.
I don't know. That's a fun one. I love it.
That is a fun one.
I wish him all the best. I think he's going to be great.
Yeah, we have him mocked in the first.
Yeah. And then in this particular mock draft, I also went with rookie wide receivers. There's another way you can get leverage. I think that I prefer the rookie running backs. But again, you don't need to know anything, right? You don't need to know anything. I would lean on running backs with size before the combine, and then after the combine, I would prefer running backs with size and speed when I'm deciding which running backs to draft in best ball. And luckily, we have Player Profiler, and it's right there in front of you. But you could just go to our rookie rankings, and you can see the top 8 to 10 running backs will likely go day 1 or 2. It doesn't matter. Just throw any of Eric Gray, Tajay Spears, everyone we listed. Just get them. Get them. Any of them go day 2, it's a win in your best ball drafts. It's a little harder to project these wide receivers outside the elite guys that you know are going to be first rounders. You're hoping that they go in the second round, ideally early second round, but then they can fall into the third round, and then you might be in a Diami Brown situation. So it's definitely trickier with the wide receivers. I still think it's worth at least 2 dart throws at the end of drafts on wide receivers that have great profiles that we have in our top 10 rookie wide receivers on Player Profiler. I think that's worth it. That's what I did too. I think that's a leverage point. On the mock draft index, we have Josh Downs as a fringe first rounder, and I was able to draft him all the way down in round 18. At the end of round 18, Josh Downs. Oh, baby. How do you not like that? A guy that is projected to be selected at slot 32 in the NFL draft. He could be the Jahan Dotson of this class, and to get him at a point where others are drafting Darius Slayton and Robert Woods and Tyquan Thornton and Russell Gage, that to me is a win, Billy.
Yeah, shooting for upside at that point, and I think that's the right call. That's where you want to take these gambles, right? And yes, you can take calculated risk earlier with some more certain pieces or what we're deeming more certain. But I love taking those late round shots on those rookies that have potential upside as well. I mean, it's going to be very dependent on the landing spots with some of these later picks, but when you compare them to the veterans that you just named, I mean, those are uninspiring names, and we know what those players are at this point in their career. We know their ceiling and their floors are only going to continue to crater. And Downs at this point is the unknown, and the ceiling could be untapped right now in terms of the potential upside of a rookie, not necessarily Downs, but just a rookie in general in the NFL at that late in the draft.
I can tell you at the Senior Bowl, scouts love Rashee Rice. They love Rashee Rice because he has a little more size. He has the prolific production, but he has the size that a guy like Nathaniel Dell does not have. That's why we happen to have Rice ahead of Dell in the rankings. Check out the rankings on Player Profiler to see where we have all these guys ranked. But you can go down the board. You got Hyatt, you've got Flowers, you've got Jaden Reed. You've got so many options. Some of these guys don't even get drafted in 20 rounds of a best ball draft. These guys don't get drafted? No way, man. No way. We're talking about these guys could go top 50 in the draft. You gotta get these guys in your roster. What do you think you're getting? What are you getting out of Adam Thielen? Are you drafting Adam Thielen?
I think I did in this draft, actually.
Did you draft? Is that you that drafted Adam Thielen?
I think I did.
What are you doing?
I think for me it was he might be returning, right? Depending upon contract. If he does, he's going to catch a few touchdowns. It was touchdown dependent is what it was, because I took players like Metchie, who has uncertainty right now. I took players like
Metchie.
I like Metchie this year. The word on the street is he's going to be ready for camp. So I love looking at last year's shiny toys that maybe underperformed or in this scenario wasn't able to play because of the unfortunate circumstance with his health. But he's back. Like, people forget how good Metchie was just because he skipped a year. But coming back into this offense that could be potentially bad again, even under the new head coach, is going to be playing from behind in a lot of scenarios, a lot of pass attempts. Metchie to me is a candidate for the number 2 role on that offense if Brandon Cook stays. So there's a lot of things to like about Metchie.
Once upon a time, James Conner beat cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? James Conner did it. Others can do it. Right? It's not a career ender necessarily. I know it sounds crazy, like this guy has leukemia, but it's a particular type of leukemia that you can come back from. James Conner has how many carries in the NFL? How many thousand carries does James Conner have in the NFL post-cancer? Why not John Metchie?
Such a great story. Such a great story. You love to hear it. I hope we can stay the same with Metchie.
Absolutely. That was a great pick. You had awesome picks. Like your upside picks that I liked, not Thielen.
Yeah, we'll just ignore the Thielen pick.
Forget that. But Metchie, but also, dude, this one was like, I was like slapping my forehead. Odell.
Yeah, that's a pure gamble.
Is it though? He's coming back. Is he not coming back? What do you mean?
He's coming back, but he's not gonna. I mean, we're never gonna see the same Odell that people are used to. Like when you think of Odell, everyone's mind immediately goes to the catch, right? Those days are gone. Like we're not gonna see that Odell Beckham ever again, in my opinion. He's now past his peak, and in the right landing spot, he can produce as a number 2. In no way, shape, or form do I think he'll ever be a number 1 again in the NFL.
Can we talk about a comment in this chat real quick from Toronto Dave? Toronto Dave, I love that he loves Josh Downs because we like Josh Downs and he likes Josh Downs, and that's great. But he had a comment. He said, my friend Dushanes is a Metchie advocate. Intriguing. Hey Dave, we don't know Dushanes. What are you talking about? Nobody knows who that is. If you said maybe like Colin Cowherd or something, right? People or someone in the industry, Matthew Berry, whatever, right? Who Dushanes? What do you mean? We're not at a bar just talking among 2 people, 3 people who happen to be friends from high school that happen to know this guy Dushanes. This is YouTube. This is a podcast. This is thousands of people. They don't. What?
Maybe joke's on you.
I'm glad
maybe
that there is
like
another guy that you know that happens to like Metchie. That's good.
Joke's on you. He's a film grinder for the NFL, and he's been analyzing film for the last 28 years.
Maybe. I mean, I hope so. I hope so because I have to admit, sadly,
you don't know Duchesne. It's Deep Dive Duchesne. That's his nickname.
No, I have to admit that I forgot about Metchie.
Yeah, Metchie's sneaky.
I have to admit it. I mean, I have to. And now you hear this news that, like, Brandon Cooks' future is uncertain. Right? What's going to happen with Brandon Cooks? Right. You also went and drafted a player that I was kicking myself that I didn't select. But I don't know. The receiver I had selected prior, I like better. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about these 2 players. I think this is a good dichotomy. I went Josh Palmer.
I like Palmer.
And then a couple rounds later, you went Rondale Moore. I think you got better value on Moore than I did on Palmer. But I think they're both good picks. I really like Rondale Moore this year.
I love Rondale Moore. He's actually listed as my guy on the bios that are soon to be released. Rondale Moore, in my opinion, I mean, especially you think about it. DeAndre Hopkins is more than likely going to be traded, right? And so once that happens again, people are reactive. They're going to react, and Rondale Moore is going to climb up probably 2 rounds, in my opinion. You look at kind of a breakout metric that I do on the side, like a model, and Rondale Moore's name popped up on that model in 3 separate occasions. And I just love the fact that, so health is, of course, number 1 concern with him is size. If he can get over that size, but despite playing in limited games last year, he was like, I think wide receiver 25 or 6 and yards after the catch. His concern is ADOT, but if he's able to, increase that ADOT and just maintain the yard of the catch, we could be looking at like a Jalen Waddle light season. And so I think that, yes, the quarterback situation is a little bit alarming right now, but once Kyler's back, I think that's going to, it's going to be just self-resolved. In the meantime, an inexperienced quarterback is going to favor the tight end position, is also going to favor the slot. And I expect Rondale Moore to be playing in the slot. So I like him regardless of who's at helm. And I'm anticipating DeAndre Hopkins being moved. So I think that Rondale Moore is going to see some increased target share as well. And he was already in the 19% range.
I like the incremental growth in the commanding of targets. I like that a lot. To go from a 15% target share to a 20% target share. That, to me, is great. I mean, think about it. Guy only played in 8 games, and he gets 56 targets.
Yeah, he was a monster.
So he was on pace for a 100-plus target season, and his yards per reception. Look across all the metrics, right? The air yards, the yards per reception, everything, the target rate, targets per route run, all of it going up incrementally. Not a giant spike that screams small sample trap. A nice... clean, incremental growth indicator for Rondale Moore. And then he has what a lot of these running backs, like he's essentially the wide receiver version of Khalil Herbert, where it's like this guy is a screaming value right now because he's the odds-on favorite to be a starter for his team. And in Rondale Moore's case, he was already commanding targets, right? Before. Now, no Hopkins? I'm not even that sure that Marquise Brown is better than Rondale Moore.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rondale Moore is better at separation. I mean, he's also working. He's also working underneath, and so he's able to get free a little bit more. But
Rondale Moore is bigger. Rondale Moore is more versatile. If I were starting an NFL franchise, I would rather have Rondale Moore than Marquise Brown.
Is he bigger? I don't even know without looking at that. Is he?
Oh, yeah.
Rondale Moore is tiny.
No, Rondale Moore is 181 pounds. Marquise Brown's like 165.
Wow.
Marquise Brown is thin. Marquise Brown has absolutely no body mass whatsoever.
He's just taller, just a couple inches taller.
Yeah, he's a little taller, which means his BMI is he has like the lowest BMI. It's hard to have a lower BMI than Marquise Brown. Like he's very flimsy. Like he's though he in fairness, like he's had 2 seasons where he's played 16 games. So that doesn't necessarily mean that he is likely to get injured. I just would always expect him to command more targets down the field. Look at the yards per reception. It's been collapsing from 13.3 to 11.1 to 10.6. His yards per reception was similar to Rondale Moore.
Yeah.
On twice the air yards.
All the metrics aside, I'm really curious what Dushanes has to say about these two. I would love to see.
I wonder. He's a real expert, this guy. I've heard that he's bullish.
I'd love to see his model. I'd love to see the model.
Yeah. No, he's super bullish on certain players we like, especially Metchie.
Yes. He likes Metchie. He likes Rondale Moore. I think he agrees with you. He doesn't like the size of Marquise Brown. And so I think Dushanes, I think his model is actually shaping up to be a lot like ours over here at Player Profiler.
Who's going to be the starting quarterback in Arizona?
It's not Dushanes, but it's going to be somebody who's going to come in. So
Jameis Winston?
Possibly. There's going to be a bridge because we're looking at, 4 to 6 weeks probably for Kyler Murray. I think my projection has it for 6. That's probably maybe a little high, but that's the safe number. In the meantime, they probably bridge somebody. I don't think they're going to go with a rookie during that time. So Winston would fit. I would like to see them honestly get like an Andy Dalton, even anything like that that's able to throw the ball. It's just let them play and let them beat people. So I think that would be a good one though. I think Winston would be great.
Jacoby Brissett?
Brissett would be fantastic. He ran the offense better than Watson did last year.
Isn't that crazy?
It's not crazy.
I love Brissett. We have Roster Watch in the chat saying that Josh Downs is tiny. So
puny.
Puny. Yeah. I don't know. I like tiny better. Puny is a weird word. Josh Palmer, though. Josh Palmer, not puny, tiny.
No.
But also not that good. Okay, my issue is he's 6'1", 210. I love that just rate in the center of the average wide receiver size. We don't have to get into a size conversation with him. Was never that dominant in college. Not that efficient in any way, but does get target separation, right? Does get target separation, but then you look at the yards per target, yards per route run. The thing that he's good at is yards after the catch. And you can see he's a smooth, fluid operator out there. He's clearly not a deep threat. He's not that fast either, right? That's the thing. His pro day ran a 4.52. That's not impressive. And his target depth, 8.5. Right, that was number 82 in the NFL last year, outside the top 50 in air yard share. So this is not an impressive dude in any way. Even contested catches, at least there, he did secure 50% of the. That's a lot. That's a high contested catch conversion rate. That's over, top 20. I'm going to guess in the league. If you're 20%, if you're 50% in the contested catch conversion category, that's impressive. So if you're giving me yards after the catch and you're converting in tight spaces, that is impressive enough. If I can now project you to take over potentially, maybe, this Keenan Allen role, then we have upside. So this was another draft pick that I had where I'm just round after round after round. As soon as round 5 is over, it's like I need opportunities for guys to hit the nuts. Like this player could hit, he could, and then just down the board could hit the nuts, could hit the nuts, could hit the nuts, could hit the nuts. Unlike an Adam Thielen, right? You're not gonna ever. Adam Thielen has been in the best possible situation you could ever dream up. Like it doesn't get any better.
No,
right, but you're taking guys like Herbert and Palmer, whose situation can only get better. Rondale Moore, it can only get better. They get a better quarterback for that bridge between week 1 and when Murray returns. Hopkins goes elsewhere. It only gets better and better and better and better and better.
The beauty about Palmer is that his ADP has not climbed despite his role last year because he underperformed. But if you recall, what had just happened with Justin Herbert? He just had surgery. So I'm not going to place the blame 100% on Palmer. And this offense had inefficiencies, right? They just got rid of their OC. Herbert had surgery. He had, a rib issue, a shoulder issue on top of it. Yes, Palmer didn't maybe necessarily, outperform the metrics, but I still think he has a great shot at outperforming his average draft position. If Keenan Allen isn't getting any younger, he's always in the chance of getting a soft tissue injury. Mike, Big Mike is always the possibility of getting hurt. There's a real chance that Palmer is the wide receiver 1 at some point in the season again, based upon injuries with this team with the 2 receivers ahead of him. And even if he's not, now he's not having to take on the number 1 cornerback or even the number 2 cornerback in games. And he can beat the number 3 cornerback. It's the number 1 cornerback that he was having trouble with. Because if you look at the games where he was the number 1, he wasn't as efficient when he was the number 2. So I think that he fits that role better as the number 2 on a team. Number 3, great. But I think that he has every opportunity in the world to outperform the ADP and where you got him.
Yeah, even if they bring back Keenan Allen, which is not the optimal move for the Chargers. It's a $21.7 million cap hit for Keenan Allen. For a possession receiver who's in his 30s, that's bad value. That's why The Athletic and others have predicted that Keenan Allen would be a cap casualty, and yet Tom Telesco comes in, says, no, he's at the combine, he's fielding questions from reporters, he's like, oh no, Keenan Allen's not going anywhere. Well, it wouldn't be the first time, and nor will it be the last time that a GM lies at the combine.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
This is lying season. We are in lying season right now, so I would not be surprised at all if Keenan Allen is cut, and then that would just be doors blown off the Josh Palmer ADP, but it doesn't even really matter because he's behind Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, who we know are going to miss games.
Exactly.
It's like he can only win. He can only win. And then if they bring Keenan Allen back, there's a lower probability they draft a receiver early. Josh Palmer is in a no-lose situation, and we do have a metric that indicates just how down the middle he was last year. It's called target premium, which looks at the percentage of additional fantasy points per target that a receiver generates over and above the other pass catchers on his team. So it essentially factors out the quarterback position, and his was negative 6.4, which was about league average. You have like 120 receivers that qualify for these metrics. He was ranked 60. That's not bad, right? This is a third-round pick in his second year, and he's giving you great yards after the catch, and he's great in contested situations.
And he's getting
and
separation.
Then some of these other metrics, he was about average. What more, really, you were hoping for what? You were hoping for Justin Jefferson? No, he's not Justin Jefferson. But I'm more impressed with these deeper metrics on Josh Palmer. And it's, damn, the more I think about it, I'm really impressed with that draft pick by me.
Not too shabby.
Not bad. It's not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Let me give you some polarizing players. Can I just throw some polarizing players at you?
Do it. Shoot from the hip.
See your likelihood of drafting them this year and your feelings. Just a few. Just a
You
few.
want me to put percentages to them? Are we doing this rapid fire?
No, just
okay.
There's been some disagreements on Twitter. We have certain analysts at Roto Underworld and Player Profiler that are not bullish on these players and some that love these players. So, for example, Rachaad White, right? Aaron
Rachaad
Stewart not loving Rachaad White. Jack Kavanaugh loves Rachaad White. I like Rachaad White a lot. Rachaad White was almost one of my guys. So where are you with Rachaad White?
I told Aaron I was going to block him for his Twitter take. I love Rachaad White. I liked him last year coming into the NFL. I love his fluidity in his game. I love his dual ability as a running back. I'm expecting Fournette to be gone. That's going to open up target share for him. It's going to open up rush share for him. I think, again, when you look at opportunity share and you look at ADP and the cost associated with that player, and the same thing you just mentioned about a player only going to be able to get better, or their opportunity, or their situation to just grow and be better. Another player that comes to my mind is Rachaad White because of everything we just mentioned. Yes, he's a smash. Aaron, you're wrong.
Okay. Cody's in the chat, and he's saying that Alex from Roster Watch hates Josh Palmer, prefers Trey Palmer. So Alex would rather have Trey Palmer than Josh Palmer. That's how much he does not like Josh Palmer, and that's fine, guys. No one said. Did I say this is a hyper-efficient receiver that's about to make a jump into the top 12 fantasy wide receivers? No, that's not what I said. I said this guy is positioned to deliver value in the 8th round, and there are a number of ripcords that can be pulled between now and kickoff week 1 where you're like, oh, I got this guy in the late 8th round, 9th round. Now he's a 6th round pick. You can easily see that. It's one of the most, seeing Josh Palmer in the 6th round is one of the easiest things I can in my mind's eye. So that's all we're talking about.
Dushane likes Palmer, so Alex is outvoted here 3-1.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Alex wasn't thinking about Duchesne.
Yeah,
No one was thinking about Duchesne. No one ever thinks about Duchesne, ever, because no one knows who he is, because he doesn't have a show, and he's not someone that anyone cares about. I do care about what Alex says when it confirms my existing assumptions. And when he criticizes a player, I'm going to go ahead and rationalize it with a ADP value talk. That's what we do. That is what you do. Another player. Jerry Jeudy. polarizing.
This is an interesting one.
It's an interesting one. And just to, I understand that Rachaad White wasn't very efficient last year. Breakaway run rate, juke rate, yards created per touch. This guy wasn't generating a lot of his
They had
own
offensive. They had a lot of injuries in the offensive
but
line.
this guy was set up to fail with injuries across the offensive line and in a completely stagnant and dysfunctional offense. Meanwhile, the metric I'm focused on is that among all running backs in the NFL, he ran the 16th most routes and he had the second highest catch rate. So the one area where he could actually exceed expectations and not be set up to fail by his offensive line was in the passing game, and he was efficient there. So everyone criticizing Rachaad White needs to shut up. Sorry.
You know what? I'm just going to change my fifth player to Rachaad White. I was going back and forth between him and another player, but I love Rachaad White, and I've been beating the drum for him even last year. I mean, I had him really high in my rankings last year, and
as you should have
in comparison to other rankers. And so I'm gonna change it after this show. I'm gonna to the bio and I'm gonna change it.
Rachaad White is a grinder. You understand that? We like certain things about players. We like players that are in the gym, working hard, taking their game to the next level in the offseason. That's Rachaad White. We like players that are coming into this as a mound of clay, that it was speed, size, and soft hands. Well, that is Rachaad White. We like guys that are looking at primary back opportunity that is undisputed, that can't be nullified by free agency or the NFL draft. It's going to be very hard for the Buccaneers to sign or draft anyone that's going to subvert Rachaad White in 2023. This guy's a fucking lock, Billy.
Yeah, I really like his average draft position. I like his opportunity in 2023, and I think he's going to have a much better year than people are anticipating.
Shame on everyone at Player Profiler who is fading Rachaad. Oh God, gross. All those people. Shame, shame, shame. Back to Jerry Jeudy.
I like Jeudy this year. I do. I've never been a fan of Jerry Jeudy. Like, I always thought he was being overdrafted the last few years. 2023, I'm a fan. And I look at I think this offense is going to have a rebound year. I don't think we're going to see the level of Russell Wilson that we saw when he was in Seattle, but love the fact that they got Sean Payton. I love the fact that they have another year together and as the receiving core and quarterback. I think that we're going to see an improved and more efficient offense. I can't go much the other way, quite frankly. But I do think that they're going to have to rely on the passing game at least earlier in the year, as well as Javonte still recovers from that gruesome knee injury. And I think they're going to have to get in a rhythm and rely on these receivers. One, I think we're going to see more Sutton. We're going to see more Jeudy. We're going to see more Dulcich. So I think just in general, those three players in this offense are going to get a bump in my projections, while the running game suffers in the beginning of the first quarter of the year.
I don't want to say this name, but I got to say it. I got to check his contract. I don't have it in front of me. I shame on me for not being prepared. But I believe that he signed a contract the same year as Courtland Sutton. I don't have it in front of me, but I think he's well under contract, and we're talking about $8.5 million-ish in cash coming back from a torn ACL that happened early in the year. He's going to be back 100%, ready for training camp, ready for preseason, and he will have a role. This just screams player that Russell Wilson will come to trust and will cannibalize target share from Sutton and Jeudy. This is why I'm not pushing up Jeudy into the third round. No way. Ain't happening. Tim Patrick.
Yeah. Patrick's always been very under drafted. Yeah.
Everyone's going to hate it, but it's actually a nice little play there in those later rounds. I don't even know if Patrick was drafted in our draft that we did. I don't see him anywhere. Oh, there he is.
Yep,
Final
round
20. Who did? Jeudy.
Yeah, Jeudy took
Jeudy from Full Time Fantasy took Tim Patrick at pick 237. Jeudy knows things. Jody's good.
Yeah. Jody's also, he's been I think he's top 7 in most consistency in rankings year over year for like the last 5 years.
Jeudy, pick before that, look who he picked. All the reasons we like Rondale more, Greg Dortch.
Yep.
The Greg Dortch corollary. And then before that, Jalen Hyatt, another one of those wide receivers that you're just throwing a dart on a potential second rounder. Boom, boom, boom. So can we Cody is blowing up our chat by relaying commentary from Alex Dunlap. Alex is like, listen, why would I draft Josh Palmer when I can have J.K. Dobbins? And I'm like, excuse me, but J.K. Dobbins goes earlier than Josh Palmer. What are you talking about? You think you can get J.K. Dobbins at the same spot you can get Palmer? In what world? What is he talking about?
No idea. They're usually a couple rounds difference usually.
I'm pulling
up ADP right now.
A couple rounds, yeah. In this particular draft, Dobbins went 5th round. If you wanted to say Rachaad White, then that's a conversation. That's absolutely a conversation. But I didn't have access to Rachaad White, right? I would have gone Rachaad White, but guess who took Rachaad White? Can you guess? If it wasn't you and it wasn't me, guess who drafted Rachaad White 2 spots before me?
It was probably Jeudy. Jeudy likes Rachaad White.
Jeudy, of course it was Jeudy.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. And then I was in quote stuck with Herbert. I got stuck with Herbert, but I would have preferred White. Jeudy got me again.
So Dobbins at the FFPC right now is going on average as running back 21 at the tail end of round 6, where Palmer is going in round 9 and 10. So if not later.
Hey,
so
Cody,
I would love
if Alex isn't going to join the chat, go ahead and relay this information to Alex. He doesn't know what he's talking about, and if he wants to join a fantasy draft like the rest of us and learn where players are getting drafted so that his commentary can make any fucking sense, I would welcome it.
Or if he wants to give us Dobbins in round 9 or 10, I would be happy to take him there.
Sure. Yes. Fine. What is he talking about?
They're at the combine. They're probably already at happy hour. It's just we'll give him a pass for probably being a few.
Have another one, Alex.
Yeah, have 4 more because that's the round separation between those 2.
Yes. 4 more. That's right. All right, you ready for this one? Because I had a great show with the Jordan McNamara, the Mind of Mansion show. He is the #1 hater of George Pickens. George Pickens is very polarizing. If you think Jeudy and White are polarizing, the next 2 players we're going to talk about, the top 4 most polarizing, the Mount Rushmore of polarizing. And these guys, this is like the George Washington. George Pickens.
George Pickens. I like Pickens. So I had Pickens last year mocked to go to Green Bay in round 1. It still should have happened to this day. I believe it should have happened. It did not happen because Green Bay doesn't draft receivers in round 1. That being said, the quarterback situation still scares me. I think they'll be better. Yeah, I do think that there's less target share. That being said, he's still probably the 3rd option in this offense behind Diontae Johnson and behind Pat Freiermuth. So it's going to be relying on his big playability. It's going to rely on touchdowns. I don't like his ADP. Like the player, rather go a different direction. But round 6 right now at FFPC, wide receiver 28 is where he's being drafted. I would rather, take J.K. Dobbins right there, who's going right one pick after him. So I'd rather go J.K. Dobbins than Pickens.
Can we just fuck out of here? What are we talking? 6th round? What, early 6th round? Fuck no. Okay, I was having to go and look around. Like, you ever looked around, like look behind you, look to the side, like, am I being punked here? What's happening? Diontae Johnson at pick 71, end of the 6th round, Diontae Johnson. Diontae, he's just a complete and utter target magnet, right?
Yep.
He goes like number 2 in targets, and he's every year top 10 in targets. He's going to be top 10 in targets again.
Imagine he just caught a couple more touchdowns.
I chase the touchdown variance. If you score 0 touchdowns,
yeah,
and I broke my rule last year because a particular coach wore a Kenny Gainwell T-shirt, and that got me off. I didn't fade Miles Sanders because he told us not to draft him. I faded Miles Sanders because of the goddamn T-shirt, right? When the coach comes out, when Sirianni comes out with the Kenneth Gainwell T-shirt, I'm like, well, it's over. It's over, right? And so, but the mistake I made was, hey, this guy had 0 touchdowns the previous year, which means he's automatically a value. You draft him no matter what. Guy has 0 touchdowns and 100-plus targets. You draft him every time no matter what. That's my rule with Diontae Johnson. There's no way, especially in the early drafts. Here's the thing, Billy. In September, sure, ADPs are going to be really efficient. But there's not a lot of time to digest all the information that's coming at you. So you're drafting in February and March, you're going to lean more on just total fantasy points. And what's a big driver of total fantasy points? Touchdowns. It's not until all these advanced metrics and all these articles get written over the months that a guy like Diontae Johnson's ADP can get corrected. So I'll just take him now while he's a 6th rounder, in some cases a 7th rounder. I mean, if I hadn't drafted him, right, the turn pick after me went quarterback, running back. So he would have ended up in the 7th round. Whoa.
Yeah, I love the discount that we're seeing right now on Diontae Johnson. Again, I have him projected as number 1, target hog inside this offense. Even if it is a bad and inefficient offense again, the touchdown variance is only going to be a positive regression for us in 2023, and I think that he's going to be on the right side of variance in that category, and he's going to significantly outperform ADP. If you just added in, I think it was like 3 touchdowns last year, where would he be as a wide receiver in the final results? And I guarantee you he'd be drafted probably 2 rounds higher this year.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. It's a no-brainer.
What you said. Yes. Okay. Final guy. We'll go out on this guy. This guy, I mean, it's a polarizing position. It's a polarizing player. There were so many people that had him posted up at ridiculous heights. He was a model breaker, right? He was unprecedented, right? He's the player drafted higher than anyone ever at his position. Some had him ranked ahead of Jamar Chase in his draft. Some even in Superflex were taking him over Trevor Lawrence, which was maybe the dumbest thing I've seen in my time in this business. Kyle Pitts.
I didn't know who this one was going to be when you were leading up to it.
What?
I didn't. I was trying to think of the possibilities.
No. I'm saying Kyle Pitts. What? Like, I don't know what to make of him. Like, it's okay to just pass. It's okay for something to be so uncertain, so unknown, so tantalizing, yet so terrifying that you just say, like, I have hundreds of other players to pick from. I can just go ahead and not pick this guy.
From a raw athletic standpoint, that's what is so tantalizing about Kyle Pitts. Like, it's, and the other time you're sitting here and you're just banging your head against the wall because Arthur Smith is an idiot. Arthur, it's coaching. It breaks down to coaching because
I don't know.
From a metric and a raw talent standpoint, Kyle Pitts should be an electric tight end. The problem is they run him out wide like an X receiver, and he wasn't an X receiver. They need to move him in line for mismatches against linebackers, but they don't utilize him that way. Now the fact that they have London and him, they're both in the field. And if they get another receiver, I think that I don't want to go back.
He's fucked. When you run the projections on Pitts, when you run clean, rational projections on Pitts, you can't draft him at ADP.
Oh, man, I think
you can't do it. You can't do it. London's in there. They're a run-first offense. They have no quarterback. They're going to add a receiver.
Yeah, Pitts, the problem is the FFPCs are tight in premium, so it is inflated, right? So Kyle Pitts, I don't like his ADP at FFPC because he's going in the Ramondre Stevenson and Chris Olave range because of the tight in premium. And I can't pull the trigger there. But when you go to somebody like Underdog, his ADP is a little bit more digestible. But FFPC tight end premium, which is where I do most of my drafting, it's hard to pull the trigger at Kyle Pitts as pick 34. I can't find my. I can't do it.
You can't do it. But you make a good point. See, Kyle Pitts can beat you on Underdog.
Yes, he can.
He can beat you, and so you can't full fade him. You know, if you're doing portfolio management on players, you're gonna want to have 8% Pitts. If you're fading him, fine, but just lock in your 8%, right? Make sure you have some of him, or 5%. Let's say 5%. Just say, listen, I'm gonna have 5%. I'm not gonna be out on him. You can't be out on him because you can't. He can beat you. Like, he can be the leverage that Kelsey has been. It's possible. It's in his range of outcomes. It's too risky to full fade him. It's too risky. And if the ADP is digestible, you should be dabbling a little bit. But in the third round, there's nothing stopping you. There's no reason to employ one of these preventative measures because it's the third round.
Yeah, I understand
you're getting
the allure.
Smash player after smash player in the third round. Where you, by drafting other guys in the third round, like Stevenson, could be ripping other people's face off.
I understand the allure of wanting to take Pitts just because from a target perspective and from an opportunity share, he's going to be the number 2 in this offense behind Drake London, because the likes of Olamide Zaccheaus and Damiere Byrd and, Kadarius Hodge are uninspiring. One can question how much Cordero Patterson is going to be involved in the passing game this year, as they probably look to move him out wide a little bit more because he was traditionally a receiver in the NFL, and they just, wanted to create this weird hybrid role for him, which worked. That being said, Jack brings up a good point. Inside the chat, he mentions what happens if the Falcons get Lamar Jackson. I'm going to tell you what happens if the Falcons get Lamar Jackson. Kyle Pitts will now be pick 22, 21, and so his ADP is still going to be priced out, even though they get an upgrade at the position, even though he's going to have a significant increase in target share and probably efficiency. At that point now, he's going against the likes of like Jalen Waddle and Kenneth Walker. And again, it's just priced out for me. Again, you don't want to be completely underweight on him, and you want to have some sort of ownership. But I still think he's priced out at regardless of who the quarterback is.
What? What are we? Yeah. If
I went all over the place
Lamar
there.
Jackson, then the coaching staff, Arthur Smith, is going to be unhinged. There's going to be no breaks. It's going to be run. Fuck run, pass. It's just going to be run.
Take the most run heavy offenses and give him Lamar.
And you give him Lamar Jackson? What? Talking about pulling pass attempts out of the offense. It's a disaster. That is
efficiency would go up though. Is what the argument is, right?
No, his touchdowns would go up. Yes,
and
the offense.
You know what else?
Its
ADP
efficient.
goes up, and that's what I'm saying.
Right.
He's still going to be outpriced.
The touchdown numbers go up. Yes, true.
It's one of those scaling.
But the targets
metrics
might go down. Like if they have Andy Dalton, there's going to be more pass attempts. If they have Lamar Jackson, there's going to be more touchdowns. Whatever, man. In no way does the math work. I say you set your 5% threshold in best ball on platforms like Underdog, in tight end premium, FFPC. It ain't worth it. The juice ain't worth the squeeze, man. Give me DJ Moore. What are we talking about? Right? Give me Olave.
100%. I'd rather have Olave. 100%.
Come on, man. What are we talking? Come on.
Like, I would only mix in Kyle Pitts every now and then just to have a share. But I'm insta locking Olave there every single time, with the exception of ownership diversification.
Olave is such a great pick there, man. Do
Love
you
Olave.
think that I should have picked Olave over Godwin?
Yes, 100%.
100%?
Yes.
Wow. You are bullish.
I love Olave this year.
I like that. I mean, I was not loving my Godwin pick. There were other picks there. Devontae Smith and Olave were other selections. Godwin's one of my guys. Godwin and DJ Moore, man. I love that. I love that. You could tell because that's one of the reasons I like Josh Palmer. 6'1", 210. The Rachaad White stature.
FFPC ADP, Olave 32 right now. Chris Godwin is 48. So that's about almost a 2-round difference right now.
He's going that late? Godwin?
Yeah, Godwin. Yeah, just the quarterback uncertainty in Tampa right now is what's pushing the ADP down.
Oh,
I think
I technically reached on him then. That was a terrible pick by me.
That
was a terrible pick. I mean, I went, in fairness to me, I was drafting without an ADP. I just wanted to see what it would be like to do it. And it was fun. It was fun to do. Godwin pick a mistake, right? Should have gone Devontae Smith. Also because I ended up with Hurts. Whoops.
In all fairness, Dushanes would have picked Godwin there too. So I think it's safe.
But I was happy though. I was happy to see Pitts go where he did, because then a round later, can you guess the tight end I drafted? We'll take us out here.
You drafted Hurts. I think you stacked with Goddard, didn't you?
Yeah, I took Goddard.
Yeah, that a boy. Stack.
Isn't that just it? Isn't that the?
I love stacking. Best ball stacking.
Papa Muzio approves.
Papa Muzio.
Isn't that good? I like that. Papa Muzio. Papa Billy. Yeah. I like Papa Muzio. I think it's cool. All right. Well, bye everybody.
That's it.
Subscribe and activate those alerts so you get notified as soon as new videos drop. And be sure to check out PlayerProfiler.com. We have all the tools for you to dominate every type of fantasy league. We have a draft kit, Dynasty Deluxe, data analysis, DFS Dominator, and don't forget the player rankings to rule them all.